Community Services Commission of February 24. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Brown, will you lead us in the pledge?
Happy to. So at this point, I'd ask you to stand and repeat with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. The next order of business is roll call. Ms. Fatua, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Andrade Vallarta. Commissioner Brown.
Present.
Commissioner Dorn Parker.
Present.
Commissioner Glab.
Yep.
Vice Chair Rutherford.
Present.
Chair Ashendorf.
Present.
All right. Commissioner Andrade Vallarta. Let me just make sure. All right, so we have Commissioner Andrade Vallarta absent, and then we have Jason Minter, Monique Villasenor, and Rob Ryan present.
All right, thank you very much. We'll now begin with public comment. Ms. Fatua, do we have members of the public who would wish to address the commission on items not on this evening's agenda?
If there are any members of the public who wish to speak, please raise your hand. Chair Ashendorf, I see no hands raised.
All right, thank you very much. Then we will close public comment and move to commissioner comments. And let's begin this evening with Commissioner Glab.
I have none.
All right, thank you very much. Vice Chair Rutherford.
Thank you. No comments right now.
All right. Commissioner Brown.
I have a few things I just wanted to, as I was thinking about our last commission meeting, and I promise at some point in the future, I will say no comments from my comments, but I was just thinking about Commissioner Glab's, some of the comments that he made in our last meeting around tree removal, and thinking a lot about the questions around evaluation, how we evaluate. And I was also really thankful for Mr. Ryan reminding us, though for me it was new knowledge, that the tree removal requests that are approved go before city staff. So those that are approved never actually make it to our agenda. And it was just, as I'm new to the commission and thinking through some of the specifics as to how business works, it's helpful to engage in this conversation. And so just on my runs through Costa Mesa, I was thinking about what do I think about tree removal? And if I were a member of the public, I would be curious to know, the person representing me, how do they think about tree removal? And I will say that I think that trees are really important for a lot of different reasons that I don't need to enumerate here. And that trees come with work and with mess. But I am open to thinking through what are the evaluative criteria that we use for approving requests. And I don't have many answers, and I'm new to this commission. But as I'm learning about these different requests, I think the one thing, and Commissioner Glab, this is really just because I've been thinking about your comments, I think the one thing that would be important for me to know if I were to go, against what city staff is recommending is there would have to be some sort of evidence that compels me, some sort of new evidence that city staff didn't get to see, or some sort of reasoning that goes above and beyond to convince me that the request should be considered. And again, I'm sure there's much more to consider, but it's just something that I'm thinking about. As I move through spaces that are beautiful, and the spaces that I find most beautiful are those with many trees. And so really just thinking about this for people in Costa Mesa as they're, considering these requests. And again, as I'm learning, it's helpful to hear those kinds of conversations. So just a thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Brown. Commissioner Dorn Parker.
Thank you. Just two really brief comments. One is, just so everybody knows, I continue to meet with different community members on the east side. The good news is they're really way more engaged in our park use. And especially the rumor has it how Jordan Park, which is next to the Boys and Girls Club, is going to be getting some updated equipment. And so it's wonderful that we have way more engagement. We have way more people who understand that are moving in with young kids about where the city stands with parks. So I'm going to continue to meet with them. And as Commissioner Glab and I know that there's some issues with Dogs Off Leash, and how do we have a resolution that works for everyone? Because that's what I am. It's great. There's a lot of dogs that are being adopted, but then there's a lot of spaces which need then dogs. So that's going to continue to take some time, which is lovely. I'm meeting some wonderful neighbors that I would have never gotten otherwise. And it's really nice to see these young families moving into our communities, because it helps reinvigorate. And it's interesting about Commissioner Brown, because Commissioner Glab, after you had the conversation about how does this work and when we see tree removals, what's happened before, I'm a data-driven person. That's just the nature of my background in education. So I have been in touch with Mr. Ryan to understand the process, the numbers. So you know, because I understand on my prior elected position, what we saw before us, there was hundreds of concerns of parents that were resolved on the lower level. So we just saw those that weren't. So just so you know, Commissioner Glab, I heard you, and I understand that we need to make sure that the community that lives in our neighborhoods that enjoy greenery, but that we also are open to understanding when we need to help them. So like Commissioner Brown, I just want to let you know, I heard you, and I've been into and had conversations with Mr. Ryan.
Thank you, Commissioner Dorn Parker. I just have 3 comments. One, I wanted to share that last Wednesday, I was one of the speakers at the On Par Social, if you will. PAR stands for Programs, Activities, and Resources. This kind of event is hosted at least twice a year at the Costa Mesa Senior Center. This time around, it was Zoom. We've been in all different formats over the course of several years, but it was great to see several faces of the Senior Center, and the seniors are anxious to get back into the rhythm, and I think we're really moving positively in that direction. I'd also like to share that last Thursday, I represented the arts at the Tri-City Leadership Tomorrow Arts Day organization, and along with Chairperson Arlene Greer, who is the chair of the Newport Beach Arts Commission, as well as with Rick Stein. It was organized by a former staffer, Yvette Aguilar, and I want to thank Monique because she helped put together the presentation to represent us well in that scenario. So thank you very much, Ms. Villasenor. And finally, a little plug. I'm wearing a brand new shirt. I don't know if you saw the article last week in the Daily Pilot that was featuring Dean Tompkins, who is the owner of Thunder King Coffee in Costa Mesa. He's also now in charge of I Heart Costa Mesa, and he is creating Costa Mesa Park t-shirts. So I'm really excited to wear the Moon Park, which is in my neighborhood, t-shirt, and hope you'll get out there and buy your own t-shirts and support your neighborhood parks as well. Thank you very much.
If I can make a comment really quick on that. I think Kelly and I have to take exception to the shirt that said Fairview Park Camping Club, because that's gonna draw some negative attention if anybody's wearing that shirt. So maybe the other 3 are fine, but let's avoid the Fairview Park Camping Club if we can.
Yes, we don't want to get onto that subject. Thank you, Director Minter. All right. The next item on this evening's agenda is the approval of the minutes for January 27th. Are there any comments, corrections from the commission?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the January 27th, 2022 meeting.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Ms. Batua, would you call for the question?
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Dorn Parker,
Yes.
Commissioner Glapp,
Yes.
Vice Chair Rutherford,
Yes.
Chair Ashendorf.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0 with Commissioner Andrade Vallarta absent.
All right, thank you very much. The next item, there is no old business, so we'll move to new business, item 3A. Director Minter.
Thank you very much. This is a project that we've been talking about for a while to propose pickleball courts at Tannager Park. I hope you've all had a chance to read the report. I do want to point out a couple of different things. One, the city had postcards that were mailed out to members of the public in and around the Tannager Park neighborhood, as well as notifications were posted on both Facebook and Instagram, alerting to the public to this proposed project. We did receive 4 emails from members of the public. Each of you should have received an email notification, and all of those emails have been linked on the agenda page. I hope you had a chance to review those as well. With that, I will get to a very brief presentation. Tannager Park, many of you know, located over by the Costa Mesa Country Club, is a quaint little residential park. There is a vacant basketball court at the facility currently. There have been multiple proposals and requests from the community for pickleball in and around the city of Costa Mesa. I feel like the city's a little bit behind the curve from our neighboring cities about having pickleball courts at their parks. The city does have an indoor pickleball park program, or indoor pickleball program at the downtown recreation center. However, it would be great to get some in our outdoor park facilities. So this seemed like a perfect opportunity. Working with Rob Ryan and Raja on our public services department, they identified some funding to convert one of the basketball courts at Tannager Park into pickleball courts. For those of you that have been out to Tannager Park, there have been some courts kind of drawn in, somewhat professionally, I must say. And you can definitely tell that there's a need in the community to do pickleball, and that is definitely a spot to consider. So the project that we looked at wanted to evaluate the site and determine how best to proceed with pickleball courts. Having one court would be great, but if we could find a way to provide 2, it would provide an even better opportunity for the public. I'm going to bring up a couple of slides. These are color representations. I believe in the packet, if you got it, they might only be in black and white. So here is the kind of the aerial shot showing the basketball court that's currently in place, as well as the basketball court that is no longer functioning as a basketball court as it doesn't have the baskets. The design here, this is a very crude drawing design. We'll be working with Rob and his team on how to do actual sidewalk. It may not extend this far, and then we might have some tree roots to deal with. So we'll be looking at the exact route for the sidewalk, but the focus is on adding about 10 feet of concrete to the east side of the court, which would give us sufficient space to have 5 feet of surface between the court and the grass edge, and then the 20 feet required across, 10 feet between the courts, the second court, and then a little bit more. The concrete then would be finished, resurfaced to match the whole court, with pickleball courts drawn in for striping. So that's what the design of the project would look like. We do as a department feel like pickleball is continuing to grow. We're continuing to receive requests for it. We do have projects to consider at other parks that we'll be bringing forward to the commission, possibly during the CIP process of the budget, as well as some other opportunities that we're looking into. But this isn't going to be our one and only, but it's hopefully going to be a start and just show, the tremendous value of bringing a pickleball type program to the residents here in Costa Mesa. So that's my brief presentation. I'm here to answer any questions that the commission has. But one of the things we really wanted to do is make sure we engage the community. So, that's a great opportunity for the community to get involved and share their thoughts on the proposed project. And that's my piece.
Thank you, Director Minter. It's great to know that the postcards, that we did diligence with postcards and reaching out to the community. And before we open to the public, are there any specific questions for Director Minter? That, all right. Seeing no hands raised at this time, Ms. Fatua, are there members of the public who wish to address the commission?
Yes, I just would like to remind the public, you're allotted 3 minutes. I do have Diane Russell. Diane Russell, you may now speak.
Thank you. I just wanted to speak in favor of pickleball courts. I took up pickleball about 6 months ago. It's very fun. It's fairly easy to learn. Most other cities have pickleball places to play. Costa Mesa doesn't. We're always looking for places to play a game. I went up and looked at this park, and it looked like it's a really good area to put one in, or two in actually, from the perspective that it's already an open space. We won't be taking any very much green space away. It's in a community. It'll be easy access for people off of Adams or Paslentia. And I just want you to know that there are people that are very much in favor of more pickleball courts. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Russell. Ms. Fatua, any other members?
Yes, I have Russ P. Russ P., you may now speak.
Yes, thank you. I've been playing pickleball for a couple of years now. In the last year and a half, we've been playing at Tannager Park with our own net on the surface there that's getting pretty poor. We're worried that somebody could get hurt, so it definitely needs to be resurfaced. I'm in favor of widening and putting 2 courts in. I think that's a great idea, but I'm not in favor of putting permanent nets there. I think permanent nets are going to create a mess over there with all kinds of people coming at all times of day, and it's going to be poor parking for everybody. I'd love to see the 2 new courts with no nets so that people who have been playing there with their own nets continue to play there. We don't overcrowd the park. We don't overcrowd the parking. And I just think that's the safest thing for everybody and the best thing for the neighborhood and the park. Love the game. I hope we see more coming in Costa Mesa. I've heard rumors that the tennis club might convert some courts. I think that's a great idea. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments.
I have Steve Manzik.
Thank
Steve
you.
Manzik, you may now speak.
Yes, hi everyone. Thanks for taking my question. It's actually a little bit, it's kind of related to pickleball, but a little bit separate. I'm from District 6 and I'm interested in getting something similar going for a local park in my neighborhood. Is there a way for me to get it in front of the committee and have it brought up just like this? Like, is there a process for doing that in my community?
Thank you, Mr. Manzek. I think our director can answer that once we're finished with public comments at a later time. So please stand by.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else, Ms. Fatua?
If there are any other members of the public who wish to speak, please raise your hand. If you are on the phone, you may hit *6. Chair Ashendorf, I see no other hands raised.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Fatua. Then we will close public comment on this item and open this issue for comments and questions from the commission. Do we have any hands at this time? Yes, Vice Chair Rutherford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to, give kudos and appreciation to Jason, Monique, Ms. Fatua, Mr. Ryan, your whole team, for bringing this project forward. I think, well, I'll just start by sharing in my first year on the commission, we actually had a group of pickleball players and kids who played pickleball. They came to the commission meeting and actually, shared details about their love of the game and how to play it, educating commissioners and staff on the game. And so and even in the public testimony we've received and the public comments, it's clear that there's a lot of support for this. and that the support in the testimony and the email comments outweighs any opposition to it. So I'm really excited for this. I'm appreciative of the team for figuring out how to be creative with the budget, from saving from other projects to make this work. And I'd also like to share that I would be in favor of permanent nets. And I will say that with all due respect to pickleball players that have their own nets and that are more engaged in the game, and of course this is an amenity for them, I think there's also value in creating something that people who are new to the game can come, who don't have their own equipment, such as myself, I would love to, bring my family out maybe for a pickleball game one day, without having to buy our own nets. So I think that's definitely within the spirit of creating accessible open space for our community. So again, very supportive of this, excited for this, and I'll look forward to seeing these courts come to life. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioner Brown.
Yes, I actually had a question for that Vice Chair Rutherford brought up, which is what would be the reasoning against providing nets at the courts? In one of the correspondence, it talked about noise. And so I guess I would love somebody to think through how having permanent nets would necessarily lead to, noisier courts or later playing at night. Maybe it's incredibly obvious. So I guess because I think that the issue of access is really important. So my daughter, who's learning how to play pickleball in school right now, could, take me down there and teach me. But, we haven't invested in nets, and I don't think I would plan to anytime soon, so I think that would be important. And I guess the second question I have, just to follow up on some of the correspondence, is what is city staff thinking around some of the concerns that have been raised around noise, parking, and trash? And whether, I'm fully in support of this, but is there something that we need to think through in terms of the specifics of those elements or not? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. The argument for not having nets or permanent nets in place has been made by a couple of members of the public. Obviously, one in the correspondence that was received for tonight's meeting. In the past, there had been a couple of people that had reached out to staff before anything was posted on the agenda, expressing a similar concern. From my perspective, I don't know how much that would truly limit play or limit the hours of play or creating any more noise. As someone that believes that pickleball is a vital component of today's modern recreation times, it would be like tennis courts from, the last 40 years, or basketball courts where we didn't provide rims or nets or anything like that. I feel like, we're either going to provide the amenity to the public or we're not. And while I appreciate that there were times when there weren't any permanent pickleball courts, and there were a lot of people out there that would buy their own nets. That way they could go play at tennis facilities or on basketball courts that were vacant. That is an argument, for the commission to consider. I do think, as I mentioned, that it's a permanent improvement that I think would serve all. And as has been previously mentioned, it provides access to people that may not have their own nets. So that's why I'm fully in support, and that's why the recommendation before you is to install permanent, posts with the nets. It is an amenity that staff will have to keep up and make sure the nets get replaced periodically, along with the resurfacing of the court when it needs it. But I think the value that it will provide to the public is, definitely exceeds whatever that value is. One of the issues with the courts, and it's been mentioned in some of the correspondence as well, the lack of bathrooms at the park. That's one of the factors that is always taken into consideration. It can lead to a couple of things. On the positive side, for the neighbors, maybe it will cut down on the length of time people stay at the park. On a negative side is if people don't have restrooms, sometimes they make them, which is not something that we like to see in our parks, whether from the cleanup side or the visual side or whatever. I think you understand what I mean. Sometimes it's the local businesses in the area that become the restrooms for a park of this type. But I think knowing the primary tennis community or the primary pickleball community, which continues to change and evolve. For a while, it tended to be people over 50, but I think has been mentioned here tonight, it's definitely increasing in age range. and kids are playing it in schools, and you know, you don't have to be a senior to play pickleball. So I think that the more people that can come and play, the better. Having multiple pickleball facilities in the city will help, you know, spread people out. It won't all be inundated on one particular park. There is street parking all around Tannager Park. I know people like to park as close as possible. There could be impacts to, you know, if there is a large group of 20 to 30 people. So those are definitely things to consider. But when it comes to, you know, this particular park, this particular project, we still think the recommendation should be that it's the right court, the right surface, the right amenity for this park.
Thank you, Director Minter. Commissioner Doran Parker.
Thank you, Director Minter. A couple things. I wanted to confirm that are there bike racks at that park currently? Or is there any plans to install them? Because I know one of the ideas, because it's a local park and I went over there, is to make sure that there's bike racks. Because I don't yet play pickleball, but for my friends who do, they're like my tennis bags where you can put them on the backpack. So if we can just make sure that is. And I know there was a concern about how late the pickleball goes, but without lights, dark is it. And then I do understand their concerns to make sure there's no tournament play or unofficial lessons that go on and those kinds of things. So I know I have faith in our staff and confidence that they'll keep an eye on that, as this is our first pickleball external court. And then the other thing that some of the correspondents asked is, once we make the decision permanent nets and make sure that there's resources available for access, is that we reevaluate it a year after it opens to see if there are concerns, if their concerns are valid, or if there's some a little bit of changes or signage we need to put up. But I'm like super excited that we are one of the surrounding cities that doesn't have access to this, and it is a growing sport and need, and it would serve our community so well.
If I could tag on, thank you so much, Commissioner. I think you made some good points. One of them is parks technically close at dusk, and there are not going to be lights on the facility. We do have security lighting in the area, street security lighting, but you know, it would not be very easy for someone to play or engage in pickleball, you know, after dusk. The opportunity to review it in a month, in a year, in a month, whatever. I think the commission, you know, ruling on it tonight, making their approval tonight, that it definitely opens the door for any time there are complaints or concerns from the community to share them with the commission at any time. But if staff would like, or if you'd like staff to do something after a year to see if there are any complaints, we can definitely work on that and log complaints if any are generated from the public.
I guess I view this as sort of a test, because if two courts side by side end up being on these smaller parks, end up being a really nice prototype. So I look at this, and Tannager is a great park because it already has some facilities ready to go. It's in a small community. That community will really have these nice resources to be able to enjoy a growing sport that is just easy to learn and is great for your health. So thank you, Director Minter.
And I think the last question, I'm going to share my screen really quick, is look, there's a bike rack right there. It looks like it holds eight bicycles. So yes, there is a bike rack there. And I also want to remind you, while we're on this topic, that there will be new exercise equipment, a new playground that goes in that Mr. Ryan, the wonderful Mr. Ryan, is working on for us too. So, you know, you add new fitness equipment, you add new playground equipment, we get a nice new surfacing of the court, adding a little bit of square footage, obviously, new surface, new striping, new nets, and I think it'll be a huge improvement, to that neighborhood park.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? I'm very excited to support this project. We've been talking about it for, it seems, an eternity. One of the things that I wanted to ask, as far as timeline is concerned, if this is approved, the recommendation is approved, how soon can we see this moving forward? And lastly, one of the comments made by one of the residents was a recommendation for rules posted. I thought that was a really good idea for for those who are unfamiliar with pickleball, how to use the court, safety is an issue. So I really hope we can consider some kind of signage for that. But the courts as they are now are unsafe. They present real risks for us, and having these two new courts should be a welcomed sight in Tannager.
I think Monique and I will challenge any of the commissioners to a doubles match once you're ready.
All right. Yes, Vice Chair Rutherford.
Can I move to approve the staff recommendation for the pickleball courts?
Absolutely. And I will second that. Ms. Fatua, it's been moved and seconded. Could we call for the question?
Yes. Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Dorn Parker,
Yes.
Commissioner Glab,
Yes.
Vice Chair Rutherford,
Yes.
Chair Ashendorf.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0 to approve staff recommendation.
Thank you again to the staff for riding this wave to pickleball in Tannager, and to the community for their support as well. The next item on this evening's agenda, new business 3B, donation of memorial bench and plaque at Lyons Park. Mr. Ryan, we welcome you this evening.
Thank you, Chair Ashendorf and commissioners. Good evening. I apologize ahead of time. I have had a little bit of a cold a couple weeks ago, and I'm still coughing from time to time. It was nothing serious, but just kind of a tickle in my chest. So if I cough, I apologize. Try to hold it in through the presentation. The next item is the request for a donation of a bench and a memorial plaque at Lyons Park. Maintenance Services received a letter from Councilmember Arliss Reynolds and several Westside Costa Mesa community members requesting permission to donate a plaque and a bench in memory of Bagheera, Mustafa, Prince David, Willie, Kirokiro, known locally as Kiro, and I will refer to him here on out as Kiro. The bench and plaque would be located at Lyons Park. The group requested that this item be placed specifically on the February agenda in order to honor Kiro's memory during Black History Month. Councilmember Reynolds shared that after fleeing Rwandan genocide in the 1990s, Kiro moved to Costa Mesa, where he built a diverse community of friends and neighbors around the values of love and kindness. He opened a retail store in the area called African Corner. It was located on West 19th Street. The store became a local hub for artists, musicians, and community members. Kiro also started a nonprofit and worked to support communities in his home country, including the creation of 2 schools. Councilmember Reynolds shared that the reason that Lyons Park was chosen as the location for the bench was that Kiro has many friends and supporters in Costa Mesa, and he would host drum circles at Lyons Park. The group felt that a memorial bench and plaque at Lyons Park would help preserve Kiro's memory and provide opportunities for people to gather and share his story of resilience and spread his message of love and kindness. The bench will match the existing site furnishings, which there's a depiction on the left. The plaque will be installed in existing concrete just in front of the bench. Staff has identified the potential location of the bench, which is in the existing pathway between the turf and the playground. It's with a star in the picture to the right. It has a very nice view of the playground. And there's a couple other pictures of the location of the bench.
I'm sorry, Mr. Ryan. Am I the only one that doesn't have this playing? I don't see the presentation, Mr. Ryan. I'm sorry. Am I the only one that is not seeing it?
Rob, were you intending to share your screen or anything? You're just referring to the presentation. Or to the
Really?
report.
I'm sorry. I thought I was sharing my screen. I'd hit share screen. I apologize. Are you able to see it right now?
Yes.
Sorry about that. We'll go back to this slide. This was the existing bench on the left and the starred location on the right. And then here's a couple other depictions of the location of the bench. Staff has reviewed the suggested location and determined the location is suitable for the donated bench and plaque. The installation of the bench and plaque will have minimal fiscal impact on the city. The donors will incur the cost of the bench and the plaque. The submitted request does meet the requirements as set forth by City Council policy. Therefore, it's recommended that the commission approve the request for the donation of a bench and plaque in memory of Kiro. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions should you have any.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Are there questions from the commission? All right, seeing none. Are there members of the public who would like to address the commission on this item?
Yes, I have Councilmember Reynolds.
Thank you. Welcome, Councilmember Reynolds.
Hi, thank you. Commissioners, thank you so much for serving. It's been a long time since I've been to a Parks and Rec Commission meeting, but I thank you for your last item as well. I just wanted to call in and sort of share the reasons I had submitted this item. I had submitted this on behalf of some residents who, you know, as I was walking through my neighborhood, would stop me and share stories of Kiro and ask for ways that we can honor his memory. I'll admit I did not know Kiro personally, but the more I learned about him, I really wish I did. And I became convinced after reading about him and hearing some more of these personal stories, really convinced that his memory and his message is one that's both consistent with our community's values and really one that should be shared and preserved in our city's history. I think we have a couple folks who did know Kiro very well, who have called in as well to share a little bit about his story. But just wanted to say hello and explain the reason for the submittal here. Again, thank you for serving, and I hope you support this request tonight.
Thank you, Council Member. Ms. Fatua.
I have Rick Luna. Rick Luna, you may now speak.
Welcome, Mr. Luna. You are on mute.
This is Rick's wife. My name's Jackie, and Kiro was my adopted father, kind of, not legally. He took me under his wing. He was born in Africa, and he was also a proud US citizen. He raised money for the youth in Africa. He made a difference, to make a difference for the next generation. We sent condoms for the AIDS project. We sent powdered milk for the babies. We collected pens for the kids in Africa, in the African schools. We sent prosthesis, my braces, to Africa. And we've done so much more. He deserves so much more than we can give him. He was very special to many people, and not only myself. He did so much for the people of the community, the less fortunate, people who needed him the most. The hungry, the homeless, people who were just having a bad day. We would stop at the soup kitchen sometimes to help out. And days that we would have extra money in our pocket, we would go to the soup kitchen and have lunch with the homeless just to make them feel good and not feel alone. He gave away our lunches sometimes after we got to the shop because there was people there that he said look hungry. He taught one of our adopted brothers how to drive, another teenager how to be a good person, to be loved. He sent one of the boys, a 19-year-old boy, to Africa for 2.5 months because he was a problem child. He came back, a wonderful, wonderful man. He's a father now and he has a great job. Pop's always had time to fix broken hearts or a broken person. He was a mentor to kids and adults. He made these people feel so important, and he taught them how to smile and how to laugh. And it wasn't something that was a one-time deal. This was like constant. There's so much I could say about my Pops. I loved him so much. His smile was contagious. He did things for for so many people. He taught many of us to smile again. He taught us how to love unconditionally. He taught us how to love life. He taught us to take responsibility. He was always there for us, and he taught us to forgive. He said this to me and to others often. We're here on a journey to live and to enjoy life, to help other people in this world smile and be happy. And him saying this and having to go through the genocide and lose a wife and a child to the genocide, and always have that smile and have that smile for his birth children and his grandchildren, and have that smile for all these people that he's given love to and a shoulder to cry on. He deserves much more. He not only did it in Orange County and in Africa, but all over the world. And I want to thank all of you. Tomorrow we're going to have a dinner at India Cafe on 19th Street in Costa Mesa. If any of you would like to join us, it's a group meeting. Love never dies. That was one of his sayings. Love never dies. And it sure doesn't. It doesn't. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Luna, for sharing your story and your words with us.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Ms. Fatua, are there any other comments at this time?
If there are any other members of the public who wish to speak, please raise your hand. If you are on the phone, you may press *9 to raise your hand. Chair Ashendorf, I see no hands raised.
Thank you, Ms. Fatua. Then we will close public comment. And I want to thank Councilmember Reynolds for bringing this to our attention. I think what really heightened our awareness were the articles that were included in the staff presentation. They really brought this human that many of us have never met really to life. And I think Ms. Luna's words also really lifted up our hearts this evening. So any other comments at this time? Yes, Vice Chair Rutherford.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to second what you said on that. I was very grateful and appreciative for the opportunity to read and hear and learn about Kiro and his story. So thank you, Councilmember Reynolds and Ms. Luna for joining us tonight and sharing the love.
All right. If there are no other questions, then I'd like to move to approve staff recommendation to accept the plaque and the bench in memory of Kirokiro at Lyons Park. Is there a second?
I'd be happy to second.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Ms. Fatua, please call for the question.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Dorn Parker,
Yes.
Commissioner Glab,
Yes.
Vice Chair Rutherford,
Yes.
Chair Ashendorf.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0 to approve staff recommendation of the
Thank you.
donation.
Thank you so much. We'll move on to new business item number 3, tree removal at 752 Center Street. Mr. Ryan.
Thank you. Let's see if I can share this one.
We have it.
Excellent. I got it right this time.
All right.
The next item before you is a request for the removal of 3 city trees located within the public right-of-way adjacent to 752 Center Street. The applicant contacted Maintenance Services Department on August 3rd, requesting the removal of 3 liquid amber trees located within the public right-of-way adjacent to their home. There's 1 tree in the parkway in front of the home and 2 trees in the parkway on the Wallace Avenue side of the home. The applicant reported that the trees were damaging the irrigation system and lifting city sidewalks that were adjacent to the trees. And they also cited concerns regarding root intrusion onto the private property that was causing some sprouting in the lawn of volunteer trees. And they were also concerned regarding the surface roots growing in the parkway being a potential trip hazard. The city arborist inspected the trees and found no justification for removal at staff level. The applicant was notified of these findings and requested that the trees be presented to the PAX Commission for consideration as Category 3 discretionary removals. The trees in the surrounding area were inspected on August 5th, 2021. The trees are about 30 to 35 feet in height and located in the public right of way. These are pictures of the tree that's on Center Street. And here are the trees that are located on the Wallace Avenue side of the home. This is what the trees currently look like. They do go dormant, so they'll be ready to produce leaves probably in March or April, depending on weather. But this is the current look of the trees. They were last maintained on January 5th, 2022. The most recent trimming prior to that was July of 2014, which is a little out of line with our goal of trimming trees every 3 to 5 years. One of the trees on the Wallace Avenue side of the address does have some black substance emanating from the bark. This is slime flux or alcoholic flux. Both of these are bacteria that are potentially contain some microorganisms, which causes some fermenting of the substance. The flux generally occur from wounds to the tree and are generally not harmful to the tree or to people. There were 4 previous work orders pertaining to this address. In February 2014, maintenance received a concern regarding sidewalk lifts caused by the tree roots on the Center Street side. Sidewalk grinds were performed to address the conditions, and at that time, 21 feet of 12-inch root barrier was installed. October of 2017, maintenance received another call concerning the trees on the Wallace Avenue side. Regarding the sidewalks there, city staff completed 5 sidewalk grinds adjacent to those trees. And then in November of 2020, staff received complaints regarding alleged damage to the irrigation system, potentially caused by the tree roots from the city trees. The applicant was provided information regarding the process to request removal of the trees. And again, in July, city staff received an additional complaint regarding the alleged damage to the irrigation system. The applicant was advised to file a claim with the city regarding those damages. Additionally, the sidewalk in front of the address on Center Street was replaced as part of the city's sidewalk replacement capital improvement project. The root barriers were also replaced at that time. The roots growing in the parkway were evaluated and they appeared to be growing normally. There were obvious surface roots noted. It's not unusual to find surface roots and shallow growing roots around trees. Roots of this nature are not typically considered tripping hazards in the parkway. There were some signs of tree roots within the turf area in the private property side of the sidewalk, mainly along the edge where it appeared that some grading had been performed in the past from the private property. There are quite a few other trees and plant material on the private property, so it made it really difficult to determine whether those roots that were on the private property were actually from the city trees or from some of the private property trees. This is a picture of some of the trees that they have in their front yard. There's a couple of bronze loquats. It looks like an olive tree at the corner. And then on this side, I think there's some avocado trees that are located in there. And along this bottom ridge is where you can kind of see some of the roots where it looks like there's been some grading done. Some exposed roots there. It wouldn't be unusual to have city trees, roots from city trees going onto private property. So it's not saying they're not from the city tree, it just made it really hard to determine where those roots were actually coming from. There were no signs of volunteer trees sprouting from the turf at the time of inspection. It's not unusual for trees to sprout volunteers or shoots from roots or produce from seed pods. The fact that there weren't any signs at the time of inspection does not necessarily indicate that they do not appear from time to time. Typically, these issues are addressed through normal mowing and maintenance. So if you do have a tree that's being produced from a seed on the lawn, you mow it down a few times and it's not really going to survive. It's not made to do that. So. The sidewalks were also evaluated for any tripping hazards. There were no tripping hazards at the time of inspection. All the previous sidewalk lines appeared to be holding. This is the Wallace side. And everything looked good on this side as well. The city-owned trees that are being requested for removal are located in the public right-of-way. The trees are healthy, they're in good condition, they're being maintained on a regular schedule. The sidewalk issues have been addressed. There's not currently causing any significant exposure to liability to the city. Doesn't appear to be a significant amount of roots on the private property. It's impossible to determine whether the obvious roots are from the city trees or the private trees and other plant material located on the private property. This tree does not meet the criteria for a Category 1 health and safety removal. Therefore, it's recommended that the commission deny the request for the removal of the tree. That concludes the presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ryan. Yes, I see Vice Chair Rutherford's hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ryan. Your presentations are always excellent and on point. I just wanted to ask a couple of specific questions. First, on the applicant mentioned the sprinkling system damage. Is it correct that that sprinkling system is located in the city right away?
I never received any specific information. Maybe the applicant can provide details. The only information that I saw, I believe was included in the report, was a sticky note that has some costs on it. I'm assuming it was in the city's right of way. Yes, that was my.
Got it. Does the city operate and maintain that sprinkling system? And just for reference, I'm looking at the applicant's. Sorry, there's a motorcycle going by right now. I'm looking at the applicant's letter, and they mention a sprinkling system between the sidewalk and the street, so that would put in the city right away.
The city does not maintain the irrigation in that right away, in that parkway.
Gotcha. So the city doesn't maintain those or put those in. Gotcha. That was my only question. Thank you, Mr. Ryan.
All right, Commissioner Clapp.
Mr. Ryan, so the applicant didn't provide any evidence of the roots going into the irrigation system?
I didn't see any specific evidence of roots going into the irrigation system. Regardless, it'd be more of a claim process than a removal process in my mind.
But the applicant didn't turn any evidence or hire anybody to come out and check it out?
We were never presented with any. The
Okay.
only thing we received was the sticky note that showed a dollar amount that was included in the informational packet.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Dorn Parker.
I guess I'm confused and I apologize. So the space that's the right of way, is that the city's? I'm trying to figure out that the homeowner installed irrigation. Is that technically city property? And I understand in front of your house, you want to make sure between the sidewalk and the curb that it's lovely, but I'm confused about that.
So it is a public right of way, which means the city can plant trees. We maintain that for services, water meters, sewer lines with other entities. But it is the responsibility of the property owner to maintain any other landscape, irrigation. We have certain criteria that they must follow for planting that. The city maintains the trees only in those areas, in those parkways.
Okay, and then but I see the history that did the homeowner provide a claim to reimburse the homeowner for the irrigation damage? Or the only thing is that sticky note. So there's been no formal claim made to reimburse them for expense from the damage. Oops. Uh-oh.
I have not seen a claim
Okay.
to date regarding this location.
Yeah. So, and I went by and it's a beautiful yard. It has a lot of planting in there and olive trees and all kinds of trees. It's a beautifully maintained yard. So, but it would be hard to understand whose roots does what to whom. But yeah, okay. Thank you for answering my questions.
All right, seeing no other questions at this time, we can open this up to public comment. Ms. Fatua?
There are any members of the public who wish to speak regarding the tree removal request? You may now raise your hand. I have phone number ending in 233. You may now speak.
Hello,
Okay.
welcome.
Hello, my name is Franca Carmona and I lived at 752 Center Street. When those trees were planted, my neighbor was taking walks. He, one of the sidewalk was raised because of the trees. He fell and was hospitalized, and 2 months later, he passed away. He had a concussion. And I don't like those trees. I have one that's a little further down, but there's no grass. And the one that have the grass and have the sprinkling system, the grass looks nice, but those roots are not from the trees inside our yard. They are from the trees that were planted from the city. And those trees, they really get all the seeds all over. You should see how many seeds. You have to rake them up or go and pick them up or do something, but they're a bother. Our trees are not taking the roots out to that sidewalk. They never had, either before or after they were planted. So I think those trees are really a nuisance to me. And I would like to have them chopped off. If you had that problem with the trees and having all those roots come up and go over the flatness between the sidewalk and the street, it just is unsightly. It's really not a good tree. So I hope that if you could chop it down, I would really appreciate it. It would make me feel good. I would put in some plants that don't require water and keep it nice. And as it was mentioned, the yard, we do keep our yard well, and it's well planted, and we don't have any problems. So hopefully you're going to remove them. That's it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Ms. Carmona, for taking the time to speak this evening. Are there any other comments, Ms. Fatua?
If there are any members of the public who wish to speak who have not spoken, please raise your hand. Chair Ashendorf, I see no other speakers.
All right, thank you. Then we will close public comment at this time. First of all, thank you, Mr. Ryan, for your report and answering my questions earlier this week. It does appear to me that the city has done a very good job of maintaining the streets, Center Street in Wallace, and also my only concern is if you could explain again, clarify the slime flux. Is that something that is likely to kill the tree? Does it heal itself? I'm very curious about that.
So it's not something that harms the tree. Generally, it's from a wound. It's a material that the tree produces. It, depending on whether it's slime flux or alcoholic flux, you may see it only dripping through summertime if it's more the frothy flux. So it just depends on exactly what it was. The city arborist felt that from the odor, it was more than likely a alcoholic flux. But no, neither would be detrimental to the tree. It's just a natural occurrence from potentially a wound that the tree suffered at some point in time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ryan. I don't know whose hand was up first. Vice Chair Rutherford?
Commissioner Doran Parker was first.
Thank you. All right then.
Are you sure? I have no idea. There was a comment made by the homeowner, that the trees were recently planted. We actually have liquid ambers in our backyard, and boy, do I understand about my sons called them the spiky balls, because that's where the seed pods are, and it's you know, it hurts when you step on them, but that's part of this nature of this tree. The size of them are almost identical to the size of ours, so that would be like 30 years ago. So is that about the time when these trees were planted? So it wasn't just recent?
No, well, it was not recently. I don't have the exact planting time. Our maintenance records only go back so far,
Yeah.
but I would guess, if I had to guess, 20 to 30
plus years. Okay.
Yeah, there is one that was more recently planted that's further down. I think it's actually 752A.
Yes,
Center
I saw
Street.
that one. That was smaller. Yeah.
That was a little bit more recently, but I believe that one even was, I want to say 8 years ago.
Okay. Thank you.
I think it was 2014.
Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Rutherford?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ryan, for answering those questions and providing all that info. I just wanted to just comment for all the members of the public that are listening tonight, and as well as the property owner, Ms. Carmona. You know, the My Costa Mesa app, it's an app you can get on your phone, pretty easy to use. I think you can also use it on a web-based platform too. But city staff are pretty responsive to concerns that are submitted on the app. So, you know, if you're walking in Costa Mesa and you see that roots have lifted a sidewalk too much where it may be a safety hazard, you know, that's definitely something that we can all do on the app. Is you can submit a request, take a photo of it right there when you see it, and then, you know, Mr. Ryan and Jason's team at City Hall can be informed. And my experience has been that, you know, city staff are very responsive to those concerns, and issues are fixed pretty quickly, as quickly as you know, they're made aware of the issues too. So, you know, we don't want any, you know, if you see something that could be a safety hazard, we don't want, you know, sidewalks and those kind of things lingering in such a way. But I'll also say that, you know, I don't think the evidence substantiates removing these trees tonight. You know, for me, I can only speak for myself, but, you know, there has to be a really good, strong reason to remove healthy trees that otherwise don't need to be removed. And while, unfortunately, you know, the trees may be a nuisance to some people, you know, these healthy, you know, beautiful trees are actually providing a benefit to all of us, to the whole community, as part of our public health infrastructure in the city, you know, sucking CO2 out of the atmosphere. So trees are a great part of our green infrastructure, and they provide a public benefit to all of us in terms of keeping the air a little bit cleaner. So those are my thoughts. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair Rutherford. Any other comments? Oh, I apologize. Commissioner Glau.
Yeah, Mr. Ryan, how long is it another year before they can bring it back to the city if they were able to find evidence, or how long do they have to bring it forward again for in front of the commission?
They have 1 year following the commission's decision. So yes, it's 12 years before they can bring it back before the commission.
It's 12 months?
12 months.
Yes, yes.
All right, thank you.
All
right. Seeing no other comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion we uphold the staff's recommendation to keep the trees.
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. It's been moved by Commissioner Doran Parker and seconded by Vice Chair Rutherford. Call for the question.
I would like to also make a comment regarding public comment. It has been closed previously. I do see a hand raised, so I just want to ensure that they understand the voting process.
Thank you, Ms. Fatua.
Okay, so now we can move forward.
Yes, please.
All right, Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Dorn Parker,
Yes.
Commissioner Glab. You're on mute.
No.
Commissioner, I'm sorry, Vice Chair Rutherford,
Yes.
Chair Ashendorf.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1 with Commissioner Glab. No.
If I can make a comment real quick, and having gone through these a few times, it seems like we take the vote, move on to the next item, but is it, Rob, do you might kind of summarize what happens so that the applicant knows what the next steps might be, or what their options are?
So the applicant will receive a formal notification via email or the mail or both. And it'll let them know that the request for removal was denied, and that they can bring it back before PAX Commission after 1 year.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
And then, as always, if there's any other issues that come up with the tree or the sidewalk, they're encouraged to contact us if things change. Even though the PAX Commission has denied it as the category 3, if the environment does change, the situation change, staff can remove the tree as a category 1 or health and safety, or the public services director can approve a category 2 for issues with infrastructure such as sidewalks and things of that nature. So there are those options that there still fall, within that 1 year. They don't have to wait for a year if there's something that comes up.
Thank you for the clarification, Mr. Ryan, and thank you for bringing your expertise before us today, and hope you get better soon. All right. Next item on the agenda is the park ranger report.
Thank you, Chairperson. The Park Ranger report for the month of January is before you. I really don't have anything else to add, so I'm here to answer any questions if you have them.
Are there any comments for Director Minter from the commission? All right, then seeing none, we'll accept this report and move on to the next item. No? I'm sorry. You are reminding me that it's now time to open this up to public comment. Thank you. Fine.
All right, I see David Martinez. David Martinez, you may now speak.
Yes, welcome, Mr. Martinez.
Hello, thank you. I just want to say I did miss last month, so I guess I just want to thank the park rangers for, I don't see any bike license citations in the last 4 months. So I just want to say thank you, and thank you again. It's very encouraging to see that. I hope that the police department has also stopped enforcing that ridiculous rule. And I hope that the assembly and the governor signs AB 1909, which would prohibit enforcement of bike license citations in all of California. All right, thank you for no longer enforcing bike license requirement in the city of Costa Mesa. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. And yes, we missed you last month. All right. The next item the final item on the agenda is the director's report.
We have to close public comment or
thank
allow. If there are any other members of the public who wish to speak, please raise your hand. Chair, I see no other hands raised.
Thank you, Ms. Batua. Then we'll close public comment and accept the park ranger's report and move on to director's report.
Thank you again, Chairperson. The director's report for the month of January is also before you. A couple things just to highlight. It's definitely been busy, I think, these last couple months, at least that's what it feels like. Construction continues on the Jack Hammett project. We have weekly meetings with the contractor as well as the project managers from our public services department. So we do appreciate being a part of the project and having a chance to provide feedback. There was a football tournament that was held at the facility despite the parking limitations over a Super Bowl weekend. They had a great plan in place, and I'd like to thank our staff, one of our new program coordinators, Emily, for helping manage parking with the group that hosted the football tournament. This weekend, we have an NAYSO tournament out there that's hoping to follow the same program that the football tournament did. That way they can still, raise money for their region while providing a tournament to the community and all the AYSO teams that come, not just from Costa Mesa, but from other regions, LA, Orange, and other counties. So that's definitely exciting to see that project moving forward. There's been a lot of dirt moving, a lot of demolition. We're looking for concrete and pouring and putting things back. But I know that definitely takes time, but it's great to see that project moving along. Another capital project, we are slightly delayed on the pool replastering. We'd love to see that happen sooner, but we're having trouble getting the tile and get everything lined up for that project. But our own Kevin Stoddard is working on that project along with public services staff. So we hope that happens and not in the middle of summer, before the summer months, so that we can have a good summer aquatics program. Fairview Park, a couple things about Fairview Park. The Fairview Park Alliance had their restoration day. I know there's been a lot of talk about trying to bring back the flying field. So our Fairview Park Administrator, Kelly Dalton, is working on that. We hope to have something before the Fairview Park Steering Committee at their next meeting. That's also a site of potential activities for Earth Day, which is April 22nd, and then Love Costa Mesa Day, which is May 14th. So kind of have those dates on your radar. The Earth Day is April 22nd, which is a Friday. We would probably do some activities maybe on the Friday, but also try to schedule something on a weekend day when more people were available. There's, let's see, a couple other things. We talked about that. Some of the notes just for, things the staff have been working on. I want to thank Laura. She's been working on the commission's webpage. I'm going to share my screen real quick. So while Laura, and along with Arzo, who works in our city manager's office on the website, has been, trying to go through and tidy up some things. So, separating commissions from committees just to provide a little more clarity about the different groupings. And then we're trying to update each of the commission and committees' web pages. Laura's made buttons, so it's easy to navigate where agendas are, where the calendar is. Commissioners, how to be found with all of your links and emails. So they've been working to clean that up, which is really nice. Over here, this term expires thing, that's kind of my segue into, if your term expires, make sure that you get your application in, because they will be doing commission appointments soon. But thank you to Laura for her hard work on that. We are working with the clerk's office on trying to create a manual for committee members and commissioners. So that might be something that's coming soon. There's also the training. Laura had sent out an email about training so we can all learn the computer system in the council chambers. If you're a little nervous about that, you've never done that before, I too share your concerns, because I have yet to participate as a member in the council chambers. So we're all going to be learning together. So I'm looking forward to the training, but make sure that you communicate with Laura about your availability so you can get your training scheduled. Let's see what else. Oh, we're very excited to announce the art specialist that was hired as part of the Arts and Culture Master Plan starts on Monday. Lorette is her name. Monique can do a little bit more introduction when she comes on about Lorette, but we're excited to have her start Monday. And then one of her first duties will be to start working on the Cultural Arts Commission that was approved as part of the Arts and Culture Master Plan. So we're definitely excited about that and excited about having her join our team. Let's see. Oh, and finally, so the tennis center, Costa Mesa Tennis Center, has been circling in the news. You may have heard it. I know I've announced at previous meetings that Hank and Maureen are retiring. They're hanging up their rackets. Their last day working at the center will be Monday, February 28th. Some of the news that's taken place over the last week, the intention of the program was that staff were going to take it over in the interim while an RFP was sent out. The RFP scope was created, it was adjusted, it was amended, it was refined. It has not yet been released. We've been asked by City Council to do a little bit more outreach, try to find out from the community what they're looking for in terms of the tennis center and programs. So we're going to be setting up some community meetings or a couple of town halls, if you will. As soon as we have those meetings scheduled, I will be sure to send them to each of the commissioners, hoping that you'll be able to participate. And then we're also working on kind of a survey monkey that we can send out as well for an online opportunity for people to share their thoughts about the tennis center. The most recent developments are, instead of staff taking over operations, we are looking to bring in a vendor that can do an interim type of an agreement, taking on the terms of the current agreement with Hank Lloyd, but for a period of 4 months with potential extensions. We think the 4 months is enough time to go through the RFP process. So as soon as we get the town hall meetings done, we'll refine the RFP, we'll get it sent out and start the process. So a lot of stuff's been going on. There was a lot, I'm not sure social media wise if anybody had heard anything. If you do get questions or you see emails from the public, you're always welcome to reach out to Laura or myself. In this case, Monique's been running point. I do want to thank her for all of the work that she's put in trying to learn as much as she can about the tennis center. I know she's gotten to know both Hank and Maureen very, very well. They are two of the sweetest people, I have to say, that I've ever worked with. And I've even gotten to know them a little bit more the last couple months. And, it's definitely going to be a huge loss. We were able to recognize both of them at the last city council meeting. The city council approved a proclamation honoring them upon their retirement. And it was great to see the public. It happened to be a meeting that we were allowed to do in person. So they had some support in the council chambers for that meeting. It was very good that they got, to get a little ovation, get the picture with the council, and Laura put together some beautiful bouquets that we were able to give both of them. So it's kind of bittersweet that their time here, their 24 plus years in Costa Mesa, is coming to a close. Monique and I were out there last night. I know watching Hank teach his groups, you can see he still loves it, and it's going to be very sad to see them go. We do have hopes for the change and new opportunities, but it will always be something that I think sticks with us is the how great that Hank and his wife Maureen were to our community. So if you do have any questions about that, it's not necessarily an item that we're going to go into discussion on, but there will be more to talk about at the next meeting for sure. And with that, I will turn it over to Monique. I don't know if she'll be joining us on video, but Monique, can you start us off with a little bit more about Lorette, and then any other highlights you want to focus on?
Lorette, yes. So she's coming to us from the city of Carlsbad. She runs an arts education program there in their arts department. So they have a pretty extensive cultural arts department there. She starts on Monday, as Jason said, and she's excited to get on board, and we'll have more about her background and her bio in the next few weeks once she comes on board and gets started. So we'll send that out and around for you guys to get to know her and potentially even meet with a few of you. Chair Ashendorf, she'll probably be somebody that you will work with a lot with the Cultural Arts Committee coming up in the meeting. So just stay tuned and look for more from her and meeting her in the future.
Okay.
Sorry. Other than that, our programs in January, I know that we're always constantly busy, but January seemed to be a little bit lighter than other months, only because, as you know, we had a little bit more of a flare up during this pandemic, and we had to shut a few programs down, such as some drop-in programming during January. So we have a little bit lighter of numbers, but we're coming back strong, and we're going to be opening some more drop-ins as we go on, and starting next week and the week after. I know it's far off, but staff is now planning spring and summer programming. So I know that you think it's far off, but this is the time period where we start with all that planning. So they are in camp mode the youth sports with cheer basketball program is currently going on, and that's pretty successful. And just overall, just the programs in general, they continue to thrive post-pandemic, or I would say nearing the post-pandemic, even though we're there. And we're looking forward to a couple of big events coming up this spring, specifically the Spring Fest event that we have coming up in April. That will be at Lyons Park, and the Spring Bark Bash that will be at Tewinkle. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Ms. Villasenor. I see Commissioner Dorn Parker.
Thank you. I'm sorry, as Director Minter was talking, so you all know I've been a tennis player in the community since a very young kid and around here. So I did receive a lot of emails and outreach. Some people I haven't heard from in, I don't want to say how many years. And I just wanted to really recognize our staff and also Mayor Pro Tem and the mayor, who really listened to the concerns and is answering those. So I just want to give kudos to those two leaders, as well as all the staff, because the plan that was going forward, some of the community, quite a few didn't think that they were being listened to. So I want to just applaud everybody, because now everybody feels, listen, they really understand that the city wants what's best and wants to maintain the quality of the tennis and also the resources and the opportunity. So I want to thank you all. And I needed the other commissioners know, because I'm hearing from a lot of tennis people that I haven't really heard from for, decades. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I'd like to add a thank you. I've heard from several friends in my neighborhood that the one-day camps that coincide with school holidays has been a very, very big success and help to these parents. So thank you for keeping that program alive. Any other comments or questions? All right, seeing none, thank you all for being here. Great meeting, and I will adjourn to an in-person meeting in March 24th at the council chambers. Is that correct? I guess so. With that, thank you very much. See you in March.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.